Hi, this is Nathan Tintle. In this Learning Goal video, we are going to talk about how the significance level is the probability of a type 1 error, assuming the null hypothesis is true. We will use the heart transplant operations dataset to talk about this learning goal. The null hypothesis is that St. George's death rate is 15%. That's the national average. Now, if that is actually true, that is, St. George's death rate is 15%, they're no better, no worse than the typical hospital, and we use a significance level of 5%, what are the chances of making an error? In other words, what are the chances of getting St. George's having enough deaths just by chance to shut them down? Well, we could simulate this. We could say, well, what if St. George's death rate is 15%? How often will we get, just by chance, enough deaths to shut St. George's down? The dot plot here shows you how often we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8 deaths happening just by chance. Notice that 4 or more deaths happens 5% of the time. What that means then is, if the null hypothesis is true and St. George's has a death rate of 15%, 5% of the time you will see 4 or more deaths. Now think about that for a minute. That means if we get 4 or more deaths, we will have a p-value of 0.05 or smaller, which will then cause us to reject the null hypothesis and shut St. George's down, meaning we'll make a mistake, because in this case the null hypothesis is true. What this leads us to is the following. The significance level is the type 1 error rate if the null hypothesis is true. In other words, if you use a significance level of 5%, what you are saying is, if the null hypothesis is true, I will make mistakes, drawing incorrect conclusions, type 1 errors, 5% of the time. Couple of words of caution. You should always choose your significance level, now we can call that the type 1 error rate, ahead of time. Why should we choose one significance level over the other? Why are we using 5% instead of 1% or 10% or something else? What are the implications for going really, really small, trying to minimize the number of type 1 errors we might make? We'll discuss some of those ideas in another Learning Goal video.